Welcome back and welcome to our media panel. Good morning to Bill Ralston, listener columnist, and media commentator Dr. Brian Edwards. There's also another broadcaster who we're going to be talking about, Paul Henry.
New Zealand's most controversial broadcaster.
These people, racist? I would never have said that.
Yes, I think he does deserve that title. Bill Ralston is New Zealand's most controversial broadcaster. Would you put him on 7 o'clock rather on TVNZ?
Not on the kind of show I think that Close Up was, but looking now at what's going on at 7 o'clock, the word coming out of Television New Zealand is that they've cooled off on the idea of Paul Henry. Too many lawyers, said one of the senior executives in the place. So I think that basically the problem seems to be if they did want to hire Paul Henry, he's still under contract to TV3 here, or MediaWorks back in New Zealand, and I think it's getting too complicated for them. So they're looking around and they're looking at other people. They might, for example, go to Tim Wilson. I would have thought he could have been a choice for them at 7 o'clock. The other one's Jack Tame, currently in New York, but has the comedic quality they seem to be looking for, believe it or not.
It's difficult though, because you'd have to put him next to, if we're led to believe that Pippa Wetzel's going to be on the show, you'd have to put Jack next to Pippa. I'm not sure that would work.
Why?
Because he's that much younger, smaller.
You're saying it'll make Pippa look old?
No, not at all. Not at all. It'd look like she had a kid brother on the set with her, I would have thought. But Brian, what do you make of whether or not Paul Henry
leaving
could do that
aside
7
all those
o'clock?
contractual issues that Bill has quite rightly talked about, I'll tell you, if you write a blog and you want to get lots and lots of angry comments one way or the other, or supportive comments, you would write a blog about Paul Henry, because he is the most controversial broadcaster we've ever had in this country, as far as I know. I mean, Paul Holmes was controversial in his way, but Henry is different. People either love Henry or they hate Henry. Now, that is actually an argument for putting him on at 7 o'clock, because that rates. You know, if you've got some of the people that feel as strongly about as that will rate.
People will tune in to hate him.
They will tune in to hate him. Some of you love to hate.
So talk back.
Some of you love to hate. So, I mean, that's one of the things. What makes me not quite so certain about that is, if you go to Australia and you appear on a television program which is 40,000 viewers, a total and absolute disaster, and you boasted before you left, which you did, about the $1 million or the $1.5 million you're going to get, are you going to come back? Is everyone going to be comfortable with that? Your reputation is actually in tatters at that point.
One of the things the new 7 o'clock program may do, and I'm hearing this out of Television New Zealand, is it may go for an ensemble cast of characters who front the program, which I think would be a real brave step, because we're so wedded to the idea of one or two heads, you know, that the presenters of it. The other thing is, I do have some faith in it, because the head of current affairs there, Brian McCormick, is an extremely able journalist, very smart, very quick, very onto it. And so I don't think it's going to degenerate into pure entertainment, but they are telling producers and reporters that they want them to be funny. They want them to have a funny side. So,
well, he has a funny side. There's no doubt that he has a funny side. And Pippa and Wetzel and him, that was a very good combination. There's no doubt that was a very good combination. So if I were making the decision, I'd probably give it a go and put him on at 7. But it doesn't look as though it's going to happen, according to you.
No, well, I mean, that's the word coming out of TVNZ from 2 or 3 different sources there. And also, I spoke to one executive who said, doesn't look like the whole thing was very well thought out to begin with.
Is there a lack of warmth about him? I mean, that seems to be one of the issues here. I mean, I read somewhere, I think John Drennan might have said, that that Paul Henry has no empathy for ordinary people, and he doesn't display any empathy when he's broadcasting. So those are kind of negatives about him.
I sometimes wonder whether we complicate things within the industry, within the media, when we talk about Paul Henry, because regardless of whether you like him or not, wherever I go, he's the one person, everybody. Well, I was at a funeral in Christchurch last year, and people wanted to talk to me about Paul Henry.
Was he making? He wasn't at the funeral. It wasn't his funeral.
What are
MediaWorks
going to do with him? If he does come back to New Zealand, will they put him on? Well, I presume they can do that game show thing again, or would they look to a current affairs program on television?
He's completely miscast in that game.
Radio Live's another option for him. Now, I know Duncan Garner's there. I know. Well, they may have to budge someone around to make room for
Radio Live has brought in so many people to save the station now that there's actually no continuity at all there. And it occurs to me that's one of the reasons why Radio Live still doesn't rate very well, because if you look at ZB, the people who are on ZB have been there for years and years and years.
That's not necessarily a good thing, though. I wouldn't have thought.
What?
That there's been no change. I think change is a good thing, isn't it?
Yes, but they've changed everything at Radio Live. Everybody, they've changed everybody.
Trying to find the formula. Yeah, sure. Well, 2013 will be a different year, but Paul Henry going back there, hard to see it happening. But
they're going to do something with him if they've got him on contract. Otherwise, they have to release him, I would have thought, from the contract, and he goes to TVNZ.
OK. All right, let's talk about the Royals. Let's talk about the way... collective sigh. Let's talk about the way we've covered Charles and Camilla. And I have... Well, first of all, I'll get your perspective on this, Brian. What do you think we've done?
Well, I think the whole thing has been absolutely wonderful. I mean, they have just...
From an Irishman, no less.
Well, I'm a Northern Irishman.
That's true.
No, it's been it really has been tremendous, actually, and I think the coverage has been very good. These two, Charles and Camilla, have won the hearts of New Zealanders in a way I don't think any previous royal has done. I mean, in the past we had the Queen coming here and the Duke of Edinburgh coming here.
We had Diana, of course, too.
Diana, of course, and people respected them and had some sort of affection. But this is a love affair we've seen going on here. It's a love affair between the New Zealand people and Charles and Camilla, and it's reciprocated. I have never seen these two looking happier. They must be delighted to be out of Britain and in New Zealand.
Well, they obviously had fun here. What I was delighted to find was that the coverage of their visit was not saccharine, suck-up, that overindulged sort of thing that we used to have. People just went along, enjoyed it. The cameras came, the newspaper stories were there, in a sane sort of way compared to, say, 10 or 15 years ago, even 20 years ago.
Well, the reason for that is that the reality of those pictures did it. I mean, one of the most astonishing things and wonderful things is where Camilla is at East Tamaki School and she's eating carrot cake. And the amazing thing about this carrot cake is not only did the kids make the carrot cake, they grew the carrots that they used to make the carrot cake. And there she is, and she's scoffing this carrot cake, chatting away to everybody and all these kids. And then she has to go to another table. First of all, she asks for a second piece of carrot cake. Excellent, she continues to scoff. And then she takes the remains of the carrot cake to the next table. And you just thought, you've got to love this woman. And you look at Diana, and Diana was neurotic and self-obsessed and sad.
We found out that more after the fact, though.
I know, but and generally, I can understand why he loves this woman. I can really understand why he loves this woman.
It's been a remarkable turnaround, and I don't know how they've done it, because in the wake of, Diana's death, I mean, Camilla was the most loathed person, certainly in the UK.
Well, she said
and
Diana...
now they quite like her, and I don't know whether the Queen's led that, because she says she's all right.
Time has healed it, but I was talking to two women the other day who said, oh, well, I suppose we can forgive her. They still have not forgiven Camilla for her role in getting Diana and Charles together, and then basically still having an affair with Charles throughout.
Yeah, but this is a great love affair we're talking about here. This goes back to 1970 when they met and madly fell in love, and then the whole thing collapses because he goes to sea, and then she marries someone else. I mean, it could be a sitcom, couldn't it? Or something like that, really.
It is. It's pretty romantic.
And she was enormously dignified as well. I think that's the other thing that stood in her stead. Yes, throughout all this, she kept her counsel, didn't say anything, and was very dignified. I
think too, in the wake of what occurred, she kept her powder dry and she kept very, very quiet, didn't she? And we saw, I think, increasingly everybody started to warm towards her, and she's just,
not everybody. Rachel Gusina, the gossip columnist for the Herald, wrote about 3 nasty things about her, and I just wanted to read one sentence from that. She wrote, "When the official party was leaving, Camilla was spotted briskly trying to catch up with her hubby, pleading, 'Darling, darling.' I suspect she has to do that quite a bit. Remind him that she's there." And that's as nasty as you can be, isn't it?
That's a bit catty.
It's very catty. Total
All right,
fiction,
let's move it on, because I know there's a magazine that's caught your eye, Brian Edwards, North and South, which of course carried a very good story with Ewan McDonald's parents in the wake of his being found not guilty of Scott Guy's murder. There's a news story. Let's see if we can hold it up for the camera.
Well, I can.
Who killed Scott Guy?
And you're quite right. It literally caught my eye because I saw it on several billboards around town. I thought, oh my goodness, this is a good story here. They're at least going to point the finger at somebody. There's going to be some hint or suggestion as to who killed Scott Guy. There's nothing in that story to justify this cover thing which says who killed Scott Guy. It doesn't tell you that. So I think that's kind of...
Well, when you finished the article, you said to yourself, who did kill Scott Guy? So, I mean, that's relevant. I know, I take your point there, that it promised more than it delivered. It still had some interesting points to make around...
Yes, it made a very strong case that Ewan McDonald could not possibly have killed Scott Guy. And I ended up believing that was quite right. But that's a tease which really is not entirely honest.
North and South and The Listener are probably the last 2 magazines in the country who approach at least, serious current affairs. Yeah. And, I'll give them applause for even having a go at something like this, but it's a very dangerous thing to put on a cover line that you can't deliver on. People do feel cheated. Like you did.
Yeah, well, you couldn't deliver on it because you would have been in for a defamation suit, so it would have been totally impossible.
All right,
It's true.
I'm still going to read it. Brian Edwards and Ralston, appreciate your time. Thank you.